What's happening, lawn care legends? BJ here from TBL Property Maintenance here in beautiful Brisbane with my pal and co-host Benny from Catch Pro Australia. What's happening, brother?
G'day. It's beautiful weather at the moment. A storm could be brewing, so we're doing a weird Saturday shoot because we've got an extra show now.
That's it, yeah, extra show.
Coming off a great experience with General Manager of Ego Power Plus, good old Bazza.
Yep.
Definitely some feedback started to come in and we're loving that feedback, so keep going with that.
He was a bloody good sport, I reckon.
He was a great sport considering and what we didn't do any shout outs or housekeeping in that episode. So we'll use today to do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But
good mustache too, Baz.
Yeah, great. I was reviewing it and critiquing it while I was next to him.
Now you look a little bit beaten up, Benny. What's going on?
I have just, it's just one of those things. It's actually funny because today's topic is going to be health and safety, and then everything that I'm about to say right now is the opposite of what should be done in a workplace.
Yeah.
Now, when we're gonna talk about health and safety, we'll get to some of that soon. We're not going to highlight how everyone we're not going to dictate to people what they should be doing. We're just going to lay out some of the information, and you guys and girls can just run with it. But to my story, I've been we had like 5 pallets of Equipment Defender stuff come in. I had 100 Catch Pros, I had 50 Pro Shields. A lot of stock came in. Now, not everyone knows, but we do work out of our house and we have, a certain amount of storage. But with hot days and storms coming in, we also had stuff shipping out.
Yeah.
So the shipments arrived, we had to cut some pallets open and, start organising what had to go out. Then we had to restore everything. And we don't have fancy pallet jacks and all that sort of jazz here. So was moving everything by hand.
Anyone who has bought anything from Equipment Defender knows that it's like heavy duty. So
the four trimmer racks, man.
How much do they weigh? Do you know?
I think the 3 trimmer rack is 27 kilos.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the weight. It's sometimes the length.
Yeah, they're a bit awkward, the big ones.
My biggest issue, and I'm sure some people relate, when I'm unloading the pallets, grabbing something from around head height is okay. When they start getting lower and I have to start to bend with my back, that's when I start seeing real issues. But it was too hot to have boots on, and I full minced me big toe. It's purple. Then I stepped through a pallet, which minced my other foot. Something to also note. Before the Ego episode, we had the general manager, so Baz, our original conversations were, hey, I'd like to fly in, do an episode in the studio.
Yeah.
And BJ and I are like, dude, this is not a studio. And, like we're at my house.
Yeah. It's like
pieces of metal everywhere.
7,000 degrees.
So, we sort of, I thought, I was a little bit self-conscious, a little bit embarrassed, and Baz is like, nah, man, this is going to be great, it's going to be organic, rah, rah. We thought we were just going to do a Zoom chat with the dude from Melbourne, right? So, he flew in, he was a champ, he sat in the hot box with us.
You got attacked by some sort of animal?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. I thought I tweaked my knee because I started feeling pain in my knee. Then, I was sort of thinking back and I didn't remember getting hurt. I was looking at the area, something bit me. And BJ says, oh, have you been stung by like a bee or a wasp? So I'm like, dude, I could barely move my leg. And if you've been stung by a bee or a wasp, right? So I thought it might have been a spider. Anyway, very little pain now. A lot of the swelling's gone down. But just in that moment, that happened 15 minutes before his Uber rocked up.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know if you can see it in my face, but I was very uncomfortable.
I got here and you've got an ice pack strapped to your knee. I'm like, just shoulder strapped. I'm like, what the fuck?
How dodgy am I too? How long ago was that? This is my ice pack.
That's stolen out of a kid's lunchbox.
Yeah, but they're good because I used to use them for my back.
Yeah.
And instead of putting a brick there, you can. They're still in a brick form, but as they start to defrost a little bit, they're a little bit mouldy. You can shape them a little.
So we'll get to the shout outs soon, but do you think when you're at home, do you reckon a little bit of the health and safety thing sort of goes out the window?
Absolutely. I mean, look, if I was going to mow my own place, I would put eyewear on when I'm using the Bipodiv, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not an idiot.
No.
I would probably, with the battery mower, I guess depending on how much there really was, I would potentially mow barefoot.
Yeah.
But I'm not in a business environment.
No.
In a business environment, in Greenscape Solutions, I pretty much don't accept anything except for steel cap boots.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't always like that.
No, neither was I. Yeah.
It's just that I used to actually crank out Dunlop volleys.
Yeah, I used to wear Adidas like trainers because, I was fat and they were comfortable.
Yeah, and I haven't had any close calls to... It's just that I do think in a business environment, a work boot, it just makes you look professional.
Yeah.
And it also will cover you too. Like, let's face it, they make steel cap boots for a reason.
Yeah, that's it.
A lot of our health and safety, obviously we're going to get to some of these shout outs, but a lot of the health and safety content that we're going to be talking about today is probably more based on some of the politicking stuff that's on social media at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to call anyone out or cause any dramas, but I think while the topic is fresh in everyone's minds, let's touch on some of this stuff.
Yeah, why not? Well, do you want to get down and dirty and get some of these reviews done?
Go for it, my brother.
So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 come in. Very exciting stuff. So, actually 3. My bad. I can't count. So they go all the way back from the 7th. So we didn't do shout outs on Bazazep, but we'll get them caught up now. So we have one from Simon from Distinct LNG. This is via the Apple Podcast. He says, great stuff. Always listening to the kickoff of the week whilst pumping out lawns. Really love the banter. Could listen all day. Keep it up, fellas. And we have listened, and that's why we are having a second episode every week just for people like you, man. Thank you so much for your review. Next one is from Ads and Sin via Apple Podcast as well. Great listening. Awesome podcast, boys. Love the chilled out approach, and that's what we're all about. Thank you very much. I really can't count because there is 4. I just didn't trust in myself. So next one is from Dario CR. Absolute legends. Wonderful job, guys. Keep it up. I've really enjoyed every single one of your podcasts. Can't wait to listen to this week's episode. Thank you very much. That's 5.
I can see a 5th.
Fuck. How bad am I at counting?
That's all right. Just keep scrolling.
All right, cool. So this one is from JDJFJDDJ.
Dude,
Correct.
What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Thank you anyway. It doesn't matter. It's a 5-star. Great episode. Hard work pays off, Ben. Reckon things are only going to get better for you. So that's true, man. Hard work really does pay off.
Thank you for the encouragement, JD and recurring DJ. One more, dude.
One more from Stylish Lawns. He called us the podcast legends themselves. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it, man. Lovely listening each Sunday on my industrial sites. Down to earth. Great industry talk with no BS. Just straight to the point. Great bunch of lads. Keep up the content. Go the Skag. Ew. Yeah, go the Skag.
Loving the Skag. Now, we'll ditch this computer. We don't need that no more.
Let's do it. So where do you want to start off with, man? Like, do you want to start with the basics? Like what you fucking should and shouldn't do? Like what you should wear? I know I fucking have my safety G-bang on every day.
Look, so with some of the health and safety, what I really thought was, and, I guess just shoot me your perspective.
Yeah.
You're not one of these people who is very unsafe.
No.
But you're not one of these people as well who goes to, like, full-on extreme lengths to make it well known that you're, like, the super safest person.
No, I'm not wearing fucking face shields and shit like that.
Common sense comes into it at some point.
Common sense is probably one of the biggest things that you need when it comes to health and safety. I was in my old job a health and safety representative.
Just like Homer Simpson, eh?
Yeah. No, but we were like,
Is that what he did?
Yeah, I think so. But we were in a job. Well, I was in a job where there were the knives, the bandsaws, the forklifts. Like, I worked in a seafood processing room where there was like, I was looking after like 20 something staff. So they're all handling processing sort of duties with knives, bandsaws, oyster knives, things like that. Like, fucking, these are things that'll really like take a finger off. And there was a lot of accidents, and that's just something that happened. And every time there was an accident, we put massive amount of procedures in place to do our best to never see that accident again.
So some of the things that I'd like to touch on, and I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, is, let's say, for example, by law, when you're storing your chemicals, no chemicals can be mixed, so stored in the same places. So you can't have your fertilizers stored next to your herbicides and pesticides. Then every bottle needs to be in its original marked bottle. Now, I had seen, like, really where I want to get to with this episode is, that's the law. That's the way that that's what's sort of that's the standard. However, if you have your chemicals, many of us do this. Many of us would buy in bulk, have a smaller container. Sometimes you lose the original container. And you might have another one lying around.
Or the label comes off.
Could happen. That does happen. So, let's say you clearly mark it with either your own label or your own pen. It's clearly marked. Roundup. Now, people out there are getting drilled about this on social media. Oh, this is illegal. You shouldn't be in business. Now, from my perspective, that is that person's chemical, and it's clearly marked. It doesn't have the original packaging, but it's clearly marked. And I can see why that person is doing it and how that is still safe. However, a certain amount of people would disagree. I think there's some of the topics that I'd like to touch on.
So, I mean, just in regards to that, I have had similar issues. I've got 1 litre bottle. I buy in bulk. So I've got 1 litre bottles for everything. They did come with labels. I've taken the safety data sheets out, and I always have them on board. But over time, the bottles have, the label becomes like unreadable. So I make up my own label, slap that on the front. I've still got the original safety data sheet. So that's where I'm at. Like, I just feel like I'm doing everything I can. Everything's clearly marked. I keep the safety data sheet on board. What more can I do? Like, obviously, I don't want to go out and buy like a new bottle with that label on it time and time again when I'm buying bulk. Like, it's just an extra cost that I don't really want to, put out there.
And my whole point is, in an unregulated industry, it's not the easiest thing to follow every single rule.
No.
Now, there is a difference between knowing the rules and being ignorant. And there's a difference between knowing the rules and still doing something within the confines of those rules. So, a huge, I think one of the biggest comments that is ever made in regards to these chemicals is about this poor autistic boy that picked up a Coke bottle. And it was filled with Roundup. Now, I would never condone the fact that, like, I would never say, hey, great, use a Coke bottle, and put Roundup in it. Now, we have done things like that in Greenscape Solutions before as a desperate alternative to just alternatively carry something. BJ's got a fly
Fucking my face in.
But at the same time, I think that story's been blown out of proportion about this autistic boy that drank it. It wouldn't fucking matter what was in that bottle. that autistic kid, he would have drunk anything.
Yeah.
Who's to say that if it wasn't in a poison bottle that he wouldn't have fucking taken a swig of the same thing? And no matter what, that is like it's something that we would never want to see happen to anyone. But it's a classic example of how a story has been, a one-off story has been thrown into a category where it's like, oh, hey, you have to do this, and and look at what could happen.
Yeah.
Whereas I think realistically, you know, I don't know how old the kid was, but you know, a 16-year-old autistic boy probably would see the difference between Coke and Roundup.
Yeah, it's happened with most chemical things, like, you know, people having Coke bottles, or targeting Coke or whatever bottles underneath the sink with a cleaning product in it. It's, you know, common sense really needs to play a massive part in life in general, and like pouring something into something else that people commonly drink out of, with kids around and kids with disabilities and things like that, you know, that's just fucking crazy. I definitely have heard of that story, and it's come up time and time again, but I do see the point in using bottles like the proper containers.
Absolutely. I
with
have
the child lock and stuff like that. That's a common sense thing, I think. Like, it's common sense to use something that a kid cannot take the lid off. I just don't get, if it's clearly marked and you have the safety data sheets, then I just don't understand. Like, what's the issue?
Yeah,
and
so
it's just a law to sort of protect.
I think where this topic is going to take off a little bit is where the good old gem, the good old topic, guards or no guards on your Bipper Dippers.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be one of those lifelong debates. Do you do it? Do you not do it? We have tried to shed some light. I think it's episode 3 back in the archives. It's been a while since I went back and watched that episode. It might be more fresh in other people's minds, but yeah, once again, we're not saying to either remove it or don't remove it. No. But at the end of the day, when someone says, if you remove that guard, you know, this can happen, this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. But all I'm wondering, and I stated this in a public thread, does anyone ever fill out a risk assessment?
Yeah.
Now, what that means is if you're unaware, and you know, in our industry, you would have to be proactive enough to go and download your own risk assessments and police yourself.
Yeah.
Now, that is really something that would be, I would assume, would be foreign to any solo operator.
Yeah.
But what it does mean essentially is every time you get to a job, a brand new work site, you have a risk assessment. So you have to walk around the property and you have to identify any risks.
Yeah.
Now, at our village, we also have to do this.
Yeah.
And we actually did do this. We don't do it every time we get to a new area in the zone, but one has been completed for almost every area. Now, what you have to do is you have to look out for possible trip hazards, any unlevel ground, whether it be a ditch, a garden edge, anything. And you have to physically ride. I could fucking trip over this. You also have to look at debris sitting in a lawn.
Low-hanging branches.
I could hit this fucking rock and smash a window. Now, what you have to do in these risk assessments is once you've filled out that data, that info, you have to weigh up the risk. Should I still be working in this area?
Yeah.
Or shouldn't I? And like, I reckon 99% of the time, by the time you go out and do a risk assessment at every property, 99% of the time, it's not a safe work environment. You can't fucking work there. It just blows my mind how some people will just get on someone else's case when you have the fundamental basis of the very start of a safety situation being completely nulligated by just
exactly
either not knowing, ignorance, whatever it is.
No, it's the same people who, grab a bungee cord, and if they can't catch something, they'll bungee cord their fucking mower, the rear discharge chute up, and go for it.
That is a fucking classic example. I'm so glad that you brought that to light.
That's one thing that, I've done it. You've probably done it.
Oh, mate, yeah.
It's just one thing that people do. You wouldn't go to a job and find that this lawn was too hard. I couldn't get through it with the catcher on, and then you couldn't get through it with the door down at the back. So you just thought, nah, I've done a few lines. I'm gonna fucking give up. I can't do it. It's too risky.
I mean, someone might sit there and go like, "Oh man, I can't fucking do this job. I'm out of here."
Yeah.
Just because they're lazy or whatever, there's a better opportunity to earn money elsewhere. But you're never going to sit there and go like, "I have to," like, I know I can do this, but I think does it even cross their mind whether it's unsafe? It's like, no man, you do what you got to do to get through.
Yeah, that's it. And if you feel like you use common sense, again, if you feel like that's safe enough for you to do, then obviously you're not going to do it if there's kids and fucking everything. You have to weigh up the risk. Like, there are windows in this house, but most of the debris is going to be hitting me, so...
Well, and I'll give you another example. I'm not going to name this person publicly just because I do respect him.
Yeah.
I respect him with what he's doing. He has a pretty good YouTube following.
Yeah.
And he is someone that is trying to grow his presence.
Yep.
But, I see a video and he's doing a how to use a zero turn.
Yeah.
Or zero turn, like a daily vlog.
Yeah.
And this dude is dead set. Like, he's just going backwards and forwards on this lawn, discharge, chute, flying, no chute blocker, no deflector shield. And it's like early in the morning.
Yeah.
And the way that he's got the camera, the sunlight is hitting this debris line perfectly, right? And it is just a fucking house full of glass panes.
Really?
And he got massively lucky. He obviously didn't smash anything.
Yeah.
But, you look at that stuff, and myself as an operator, I am certainly not the safest person out there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to common sense and weighing up those risks, I think usually with someone with half a brain would be like, fuck, this could end up bad.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Do you have any other examples?
Like this, you know what? One of the worst fucking things you see is when people are doing tutorials about whippersnipping or hedging, no fucking eye protection. Bro, that just does my head in. It's like, you cannot get out there and be like, this is how to do this with no eye protection on. That's fucking so dumb. But
yeah, look, I think
it's crazy.
I don't know why anyone would ever do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear my sunglasses outside almost 24/7 because sunglasses. Now, mind you, safety glasses are probably not the same, but some sunglasses are really sunscreen for your eyes.
Yeah.
Anytime you're using the BIP, look, to me it doesn't matter what task you're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe if you were push mowing and it was pissing down with rain, you know how they fog up and stuff?
Yeah.
I've taken my glasses off in situations like that and I felt safe enough to continue.
Well, it was probably safer for you to take them off and continue than it was to leave them on.
But by law, you would be in big strife, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think that's where in an unregulated industry, maybe it's not worth calling out certain people for certain things that they're doing when, let's let common sense play a little bit of a part here. What are some more examples? Like, I know that we touched on the whole whippersnipper thing, but you just see so many times like, oh, what if you kill someone? And that would be a tragic situation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you've got that guard on and you're doing an upright edge, that guard it's nulligated.
Yeah.
There is no
And when do you get the most shit flying out? It's when you're doing an upright edge.
And people say that in no way, shape, or form would you ever be covered. Now, this is not actual facts, but I know for myself, if I didn't have the guard on, I would make that appeal in court.
Yeah.
About, and then let's run some proper tests. Now, like I said, I'm not against these guards being used, but they're not actually called safety guards.
Yeah.
They're just called guards.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, like I said, that's going to be an age-old topic.
It's going to be.
Age-old topic of discussion. And I guess for the people that don't use guards, I guess this is an opportunity for me to say, you know what, like I'm not tripping on it because it is something that I do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's face it, if you haven't filled out a risk assessment, you're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
And those people that are using guards, you're not bulletproof if something happens.
Yeah.
Because you haven't followed all the procedures.
Yeah.
What about pre-start checks?
Yeah. What
sort of pre-start checks do you do, BJ?
Is there fuel? Did it start on the first or second go? And away you go. One thing I do because I run the Tanaka style aluminium heads.
Mm-hmm.
I will now and again check those because they can be a fucking dangerous thing if you haven't looked at them for a while. They can crack and things like that. So that's one thing I do before I work. But
just real question here. Have you ever had one break on you?
Yes. And
when it broke, which way did the debris fly?
Fucking west. Like, it just went straight ahead.
Yeah.
So the guard would never have caught that.
Yep.
And that's a huge thing. Like, imagine a piece of aluminium shooting out at whatever.
So I got a story for you. Way back. I remember I was working at Tarragindi, which is not really... Like, the only reason why I'm saying that is because that must have meant it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Whippersnipping a footpath. I was using an Echo trimmer.
Yeah.
And, back then I didn't even know you could take the guards off.
Yeah.
So the guard was on. Full time for years. My Tanaka head exploded. Prematurely too, by the way. And a big chunk of it hit a motorist driving on the main road.
Oh, shit.
And just obviously made a loud bang, didn't really cause any damage. But it's really a perfect example of a commercialized part that used to come as an OEM. Yeah. I don't think any... I'm not sure. Obviously, Tanaka, I think, might be discontinued brand now. But that is an accessory, an optional accessory that you can use. And... that guard is not doing shit to stop that thing if that thing explodes.
No, it's true. And fuck, the speed that they come off at, because normally when you hit something and it explodes, you are at full revs. You're going hard out.
Yeah. Now, obviously you're not a mind reader, but how many operators, whether they're in a big environment or a small team environment down to a solo operator, how many operators are waking up, driving to their first job, and then doing a pre-start checklist?
Yeah, like a toolbox meeting or like an actual check, like your checklist?
Yep, so at the village, we had to have all this for health and safety.
Yeah.
You basically have a pre-start checklist for every single piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So let's say your brush cutter is what it's called. You have to make sure that it is in safe operating, it's safely working.
Yeah.
And then you have to do that the same with the mower. So, with a push mower, for example, you have to check if all your blades are on tight.
Yeah.
You have to check that all of the nuts and bolts are nipped up, working properly. How many people now, you're not a mind reader, How many people do you think are checking these things daily?
I'd say maybe 1 to 2.
Yep.
1 to 2 in Australia.
How much of the industry percentage-wise?
I'd say
maybe
like
10%?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I'd say less.
Because maybe there are some sites that are that strict where they have to have that documentation submitted every week or so.
What about solo operators that are unregulated that fend for themselves?
I doubt it. I very highly doubt that they've got a checklist going every day on every piece of equipment they own.
Further to my point, if that person had smashed a window and wanted to make an insurance claim, do you think that they were ever asked, did you do your pre-start or risk assessment?
I've busted a few windows. I've had one that was all the way up to like $1,500. So that's a decent claim, and I got no questions. It was literally just, how did it happen? And I gave them the information, and they were like, okay.
Yeah. Now, I don't have any examples of a person that has been injured.
No.
And like I said, I don't really even want to entertain the thought.
No.
Because not only are you hurting someone really badly, but ultimately it's going to be a downfall for someone's business.
Yeah.
Even if you, obviously, if you're not insured, then, whatever. There's nothing that anyone can do about it. But even if you end up in a situation where, let's say you have to go to court, you fight it and you win.
Yeah.
That is going to weigh down on someone incredibly, and it's going to be so counterproductive to any solo operator.
Huge.
So it's not a good situation. No. But I just think that sometimes we overlook. It's easy to say, it's easy to get up on a pedestal and say, you shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. And I just wonder how many of these people are really following every single rule.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to make it clear as well that there's a really great guy on one of the Facebook groups called Stephen Ween.
Yeah. He's like the health and safety king, eh?
He's a health and safety king. Now, none of this episode is directed at him at all. He's a really great guy. He seems like a really nice guy. And obviously he has a real perspective from being a health and safety officer.
And it looks like he's got a passion for it too.
He's not just someone who is being a jerk.
No.
He's telling you how it is.
Yeah.
So I did want to make it clear. I'm unsure if Steve listens, but I did want to make it really clear that we're certainly not ragging on him in any way, shape or form.
No.
And I think a lot of his information is great for people to know.
Yeah.
Because he's not being a jack off and being like, oi, fucking read this.
Yeah.
What he's simply doing is exactly what we're doing. And he's just laying out the facts.
Yeah.
And if you do or don't do that, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's it.
As long as he's sorting
himself out. As long as he's
out.
like, here's some info. Take it or leave it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
but, some people don't take it or leave it, and they fucking decide to, jump down people's throats and say, well, you're not doing this right and you're not doing that right. But if you actually fucking look at your own business, there's definitely things that you're not doing right as well. So you can't fucking be judge, jury, and executioner. Like, it's just strange that people can target one specific thing when there's 4 others in their own business that they're not doing right.
Yeah, and I know that I think one of the documents I briefly read over, and this was supplied by Steve too, so it's great for us to see some of this stuff, but it was, I believe, a generic description of like a guard on a tool.
Yeah.
And I guess, let's say grinders, circular saws, things of that nature. Let's say a whippersnipper or a brush cutter falls under that category. Do you think that is fair?
No, I don't. I think...
And why?
I think one of the arguments towards this guard's on or off thing is I feel there's a safety aspect for the operator with the guard off. I think being able to see what you're exactly doing is a huge benefit to the operator. I just don't get why. And that's one of the reasons why I think they're shrinking. Like, they're shrinking guards to the point where they're almost null and void. Like...
Yeah, so that's, for me, the reason why I have such a lack. Well, so I have such disrespect for this whole conversation is because when I have reached out to actual manufacturers and people who actually have to go through Australian standards to actually have products approved for Australia, because all rules are different. All countries are different. Their number one reasoning for having the guard there is to regulate the way that the machine operates. That's the number one. Now, yes, it can be said that some the operator will be protected from some debris. At the end of the day, it's already been made well known that that is there to regulate the revs. So that the machine is working to the proper spec. Now, something that can be highlighted from by all of that is the fact that with all of this new battery equipment, if you try and run certain pieces of this battery equipment without that guard, it'll shut down in 8 seconds.
It's got like a ampage cutoff. Is that what it is? An ampage?
When the motor is not running to the spec that it's been programmed to, because this is battery stuff, the machine will cut out. And it's letting you know that this is, if you were to do this and I was not to cut it out, it'd fry the motherboard. So that's always going to be my leading argument. And like I said, I can see someone using a guard on their whippersnipper and it doesn't register with me at all. I just don't give a fuck. I don't sit there and say like,
no, it doesn't.
Oh, this dude is doing it half wrong, or you know what I mean?
No,
like,
that's it.
Even my guy Rusty, he doesn't actually use a guard, but he wanted to use a guard. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't care. Like, I don't give a crap. So yeah.
I'll bail out of this. This, what is it? Controversial topic. But
that's always going to be controversial.
It is always going to be controversial. But there's so many different things. One of the things I wanted to talk about is high vis. Do you think high vis is one of those things that should be mandatory in the industry?
No, I don't think so. I do think it has its place.
Yes.
I know, like, I haven't had a high vis uniform for either myself or my crew in maybe like, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years. We do carry high vis vests.
Same.
And they only ever come out when we are required. Now, I can understand why this is some of the dumb shit that I want to talk about right now. So if you're working on a highway cutting grass, okay, you can be on a 60-inch mower, but apparently no one can fucking see you unless you have a high vis shirt on. Now, I don't know who came up with that. Now, if we do a. I got so passionate then I was about to drop the C-bomb. We do a local timber yard. And there's forklifts driving everywhere. There's big trucks coming in. There's, it's crazy, right? And we have to walk from area to area. Now, I think as a pedestrian, wearing high vis is great. Because you can be seen from a distance. If you're on a 60-inch fucking mower and someone doesn't see you, they're fucking blind. It's not because you don't have a high vis fucking shirt on.
They've got earplugs in and blinders on.
It is just, so look, I know at our village we have all of this shit dictated to us. We actually have like a fucking Homer Simpson, like a dude that comes out. And for us to follow every single protocol that is dictated to us, for us to follow everything and be the safest people ever, it would probably, I'd say, take about 30% of our day away from being on the tools. And you know what is the fucking greatest thing of everything? Human error is still not taken into account.
That's it.
So if I climb up a ladder and I have 3 points of contact, nothing is fucking ever going to happen to me.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
It's always safe when you're up on a fucking ladder.
If I'm a dumb shit and I accidentally trip over my own foot, if I had a risk assessment there, it's all good.
How do you have a fucking 3 points of contact on a ladder when you're hedging the top of a hedge?
Oh man, like I haven't even looked at that in a while, but like, you know, it just...
Unless you pull your dick out and wrap it around one of the fucking runs.
And not to mention, not only do you have to have 3 points of contact, but then to even work on the site, you need to be covered up to 20 mil in public liability.
Yeah.
Which means you're insured for 6 meters.
Yeah.
Which, everyone, is fucking high.
It's so high. It's
6
really
meters
high.
is really, really high. We don't actually perform tasks over 3 meters because that's where we feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And we also feel that if we were asked to do a task, you know, anything above that we feel that there would be companies out there that could do the job cheaper.
Yeah.
Because we're just not equipped to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's one of my customers at one of my villages has asked me to do some tree work, and I'm like, there's so many people out there that can do it cheaper because I'm not as efficient. I don't have the equipment to get up that high, and I don't have the saws that they do. Like, they can just drop it, chip it, drive away. Me, I'd have to drop it, drag it, put it in the trailer, take it to the dump, come back, do that multiple times, charge you a good hourly rate or whatever, you know. It's one of those things. But yeah, man, that's what I don't get. Like, there's some rules that just really don't make sense for our industry. Like, the 3 points of contact will never happen. Like, why the fuck would you be up, like, unless you're using a pair of secchies, one hand on the top, leaning over, taking the top off. It's all relative, isn't it? It's a bit weird. But time
to take a time out right now, Beej. We need to talk about our new sponsor, Bad Workwear.
Yeah, man.
Now, let's talk about it. What code can we use at checkout to save?
Skull. All in capitals. Make sure it's all in capitals at the checkout, and you'll get a sweet 10% off.
Now, let me say, guys, that this gear is, you know, we're in an industry where, you know, most businesses are wearing uniforms.
Yeah.
I'd say most times you would still need some sort of work short or pants.
Yeah.
Now, these guys have a great range of stuff that you and I both wear, right?
Yeah, I actually have got the Bad Workwear Saviors, the elastic one. So I am...
We're in dad mode when we wear them, right?
Yeah. If you've watched us on YouTube, then you know I'm a thick boy. And I, for the life of me, can't find pants that actually fit. But the shorts from Bad Workwear are fucking mint. They fit well. The short ones are actually my favourite. I didn't think I'd get stuck into short shorts.
I don't have the pins for the short ones.
Fucking good.
I got like a slim fit. I think they're the Saviour as well.
Yeah.
They have 2 or 3 different styles.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter if you're whatever it is you're looking for. They pretty much have it. Winter coming up. They got some mad jackets. I got the Puffer Dog.
Yeah, I got the hoodie, the waterproof hoodie.
The Rain Defend hoodies are great too. So don't forget to save 10% at the checkout to get 10% off. Also, you know, if you don't mind flaunting some of the stuff, you can take a selfie or a photo of one of your team members, post it up. Don't forget to tag Skull Sessions and tag Bad Workwear. They'll post that up in their stories.
Yeah.
Help building that great community. Also, don't forget to give us your own feedback. Remember to use code SKULL at the checkout. Support the guys that are helping support you.
Sitting here in 35-degree heat. Yeah, man. It really will help us out. We, as you can see, we're not really well equipped. We have one microphone and one phone, and all of our time is donated through this. It's a good thing we're doing, and I love building it. But this will just help us just get across the line a bit further. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, help us out.
Just sort of piggybacking on some of these tools and stuff, I can probably understand. Like, let's take a chainsaw for example.
Yeah.
Now, I am definitely in the mindset that, you know, if you don't really know how to use one and you haven't looked at the basics, it's not a good idea to be operating one of these. Because we've all seen the tragic accidents that have happened from either, you know, some of these people have been trained.
Yeah.
Some of these people aren't trained. Myself, I've always been pretty. I mean, I've had my moments where I'm sort of using it one hand or doing something like that, which is not safe. But realistically, I think that is one tool where it wouldn't hurt to just get familiar.
Yeah, you need to have respect for chainsaws, I think. Hedges as well. Hedges are a very dangerous tool. You see a lot of injuries from hedges, but that's a lot to do with human error.
I agree. So, I mean, the amount of times that I've been cut by my hedge trimmer when it's not in use is very high. I've never been cut. I've never been cut by a hedge trimmer while it's operating.
No, neither have I. A lot of the time I'm cleaning it and I'll run a wire brush up and I'll just slip the wire brush off the side and I'll put a few good deep gashes in my fingers. But that sort of stuff is human error.
And look, like you mentioned, I think it's just a different tool. What makes it really hard in this industry is that we are using tools and we're using chemicals that can be bought off the shelf. Yeah. So yes, you can go out and do, I saw another comment, someone was simply asking about a growth regulator chemical. Yeah. Which are becoming really prominent in our industry and, certain markets. Someone immediately fired off, go and do your fucking chemical course and be a big boy and learn how to do it properly. Yeah. Now, to me, that was just the most pig-headed comment ever. Yeah. And was nothing but, taking his dick for a windmill. Now, there is a difference. Now, if you needed a license to purchase that chemical, then that would be a different story. Yeah. And up here in Queensland, we don't need a license to spray yet. So we're still in the clear. Commercially, yeah. Okay. Unless we are using like a powered source to spray. Yes, true. We're sweet. So anyone that's using a pumper is fucking A-OK up here. But I'm sure that the regulations will change. Now, let me just say that these actual companies that make this stuff, they can put a disclaimer on their bottle. Yeah. Saying like, if you drink this, you're fucked and we're not liable. Right? Yeah, something along those lines. So what that means is the government or the company, whoever it is that either approves, whether it's Australian standards, whoever it is, I don't know. I don't really know who that is, but they've made it well known that this person is not liable for anything. Yeah. But we'll sell it to any dumb fuck who has money. That's exactly right. So, I think what makes it really hard is they'll let you buy it and they're not going to take any responsibility. So everything is on the consumer. Yeah. Every single little thing. Yeah. And if you have not followed the appropriate paperwork, whether you're educated or not, it's still not going to account for human error. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. Now, it's different to say like asbestos. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. And what I mean by that is that nobody knew what this shit could do 30 years ago. Yeah, now that's exactly right. But I mean, it's the same with smoking as well. Absolutely. It's the same with everything. That's the thing. Vaping is going to be the new fucking thing. Oh, yeah, man. All the vape doggers are going to be in big trouble. Anyway, this was just a short little episode. Yeah. We're probably going to sign out soon. But we hope that this episode sheds a little bit of light on, some of the things that are behind the scenes that we don't take into account at all. It's a bit of a conversation starter too. Like we always say, we love to interact with people. So we want your feedback. We want you to tell us how you feel about some of the things we brought up. Keep it nice. Like, we've got our opinions, you've got yours. So, but we'd really love those opinions. And, man. And what I think is important too, just quickly on, whenever we're all having these discussions, I think what is important is that you don't personally attack someone. Yeah, respect goes a long way. If you see someone that, maybe is not doing the safest thing or, whatever the case may be, rather than being like, oh, look at this dumb, uneducated fucking buffoon.
Yeah.
You know, it might be if you have to comment, you know, maybe it's like, oh, you know, maybe you should catch yourself up on that.
Or take just take 5 seconds to take a personal message instead of a public fucking slander. Like,
and I also think maybe take a second to just put yourself in an everyday situation.
Yeah.
Are you following all the rules yourself? Yeah. Is that something that you're doing? Have you modified a piece of equipment already?
Yeah.
Taking the guard off is classed as modifying a pice of equipment.
Taking your discharge chute off your ZTR. Gone.
I mean, how, you know, like we could go on for miles and miles.
It's...
Let us know if you want another, you know, we will try and maybe get a health and safety expert on here.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get Steve on it.
Yeah, so I did reach out to him.
Oh, cool.
He said that it would be something that he would be open to, and I think it would be a huge positive for the community.
Yeah, for sure.
And I did make it clear to him that we would never get him on the show to rush him or anything like that.
No,
like I absolutely respect this dude, and I truly want to hear what information he has for the industry. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of days for another episode.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you.
Relax and take notes while I take totes of the marijuana smokes. Throw you in a choke, gun smoke, gun smoke.